It's Trisha Ryan, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm the Director of Membership Development with the Baking Association of Canada. I'm here along with my colleagues, Martin Barnett, that many of you know, our Executive Director, and Christine Cavalier, who's a trendologist and going to be leading us through our presentation today. So I think what's important to, before we get started, a few of the sort of things, logistics. This will be about 45, 50 minutes. We will take questions and answers. I do have some for Christine as well. Martin is going to do just a brief introduction around the reason for our webinars and what we hope to achieve out of sharing this information with all of you. And so I'm going to pass over to Martin Barnett, our Executive Director at BAC.
Thanks, Trish. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. As Trisha said, I'm the Executive Director of the Baking Association of Canada, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us for our second webinar, Decoding 2026, Food Trends That Will Actually Move Your Business. Today's session brings together two exceptional guides, Trisha Ryan, our own, who leads BAC's National Marketing and Communications, and Christine Cavalier, one of the country's most respected culinary trend strategists. Together, they'll help us through the noise, spotlight what truly matters, and translate emerging food trends into practical opportunities for your bakery or food business. So thank you for taking the time to invest your growth and the future of our industry. So let's dive in.
Thank you, Martin, very much. It's wonderful to be here, especially with people I really have a lot of fun working with and sharing information with. So this theme today, Disruption on Tap, it's not just a catchy title, although we did Google what we could call this. It reflects really the fundamental shift happening within our industry. We're seeing traditional ingredients reimagined. We're seeing heritage techniques modernized, and some bold global flavors finding their home in local pantries and on plates. And this disruption isn't coming from somewhere far away, although Christine does have great reach across the planet with all of her travels. But it's here bubbling up and fermenting in crocks and flowing from craft distilleries and then heating up in freezer aisles. So, Christine, what makes 2026 different for you?
Thank you, Trisha. Thanks for inviting me to this. 2026 makes my heart sing because consumers know more about food than ever before. So as product developers and innovators, we have a wealth of knowledge to share and consumers are eager to taste.
So, Christine, you've done many years of taste bud development, and you are going to give us a little tour of your career, which is around the Canadian planet. But specifically, you're going to give us some of your global taste trends and some of the work that you've done. So I'm going to pass this over to you, and you can share and do a little deep dive on what's happening today.
Thanks, Trisha. I'm glad you said we're going to take questions. I think we'll take them at the end. And so we'll be able to really talk about what we've presented and handle all your questions. So welcome to Taste the Trends. It's all about the future of food. Today, we're going to talk about crispy, crunchy, foamy, silky, salty, sticky, creamy, and tangy. We're going to talk about everything that people want to eat. I am passionate about food. I'm a global culinary trendologist, an executive chef, and a culinary executive. I've had a fabulous career journey. Some of the highlights I have been part of is I'm the past executive chef of President's Choice brand products, the director of culinary and beverage and executive chef for Cara operations across the country. I was the chair of the chef school of George Brown College. I moved over to Unilever to do global innovation for Hellmann's, Bertolli, Knorr, and Lipton around the world. Then joining Maple Leaf Foods as their first director of culinary strategy. Many of you may know the Think Food Center out by the Toronto airport where everybody talks food. It was my project at Maple Leaf, so I designed and led the team that built that. I have been the past president of Trendy. It was a wonderful West Coast-based company where we talked about rescuing otherwise wasted fruits or vegetables. For a very long time, I have run my company called Culinary Concierge, as well as being part of Food Biz Mentoring. I'm the chair of the board for Food Day Canada, where we celebrate Canadian cuisine, and many others that keep me very busy. I am focused externally. I look to the future of food. There isn't a book that lands in my desk that says, here's the top 10 trends. I am out there tasting all the time, talking with chefs and restaurateurs and bakers and food developers to see what's coming next. I'm not just chasing a trend. I work with my clients to be able to match the trends that are coming with your brand, your target consumer, and with your strategy for success. So move over kale. Let's explore what's going to be on gourmet and grocery shelves, baker's aisles, on the plates, and at our restaurant tables. The future is edible for those who believe cuisine leads change, and I think that probably sums up everyone on this call today. We're going to talk about the taste of food because food is a global voice. It encompasses history and memories and conversations and connections to the future. So let's jump in with the first trend today. And it's, yes, please, yuzu. It's all about citrus 2.0. Yuzu is bright and bold. It's tart and floral. It certainly can be sweet or savory. On the left-hand side of the screen is Yuzuku. And Yuzuku is a sparkling yuzu aid. It's incredibly refreshing. In 2026, it won the Fancy Food Sophie Award, Gold Award. It's incredibly luxurious is how I would describe that. I also have a photo on the bottom left, and it is from a Toronto bakery called Tsuchi. And it is their plant-based vegan yuzu citrus tart. Quite spectacular. On the right-hand side of your screen, it's all about a restaurant called Attaboy in New York City. So first, you must go to Attaboy. And second, when you're there, be sure to order their fried chicken with Yangi Yummy sauce. It's sweet and spicy and sticky, and they've coated the entire thing in yuzu. It's simply decadent and incredible.
So pairing that with Canadian palates, we know that yuzu goes very well with dairy, so fits with cream cheese, mascarpone, yogurt, and rich butter pastry products. Maple and brown sugar go very well with this. Its tartness cuts the sweetness, berries and stone fruit, and with chocolate, an all-time favorite. So yuzu is framed in Canadian and broader Western food media as an elevated complex citrus that is here to stay rather than a fleeting fad.
Well, honey is the next sweet spot for use in sweet and savory dishes. We're going to talk today about fermented honey. It's fluffier and runnier. You can add things like garlic or chili and herbs or berries and fruits to it. So how do you make it? You add your flavor to raw honey. It sort of makes a wow version of honey in my mind. It's the spicy, sweet and spicy, version of hot honey if you add garlic and chilies. So it is a sweet superfood. Now, my challenge to you is where can fermented honey fit in your future innovations?
So some of the things that Christine and I discussed, and Martin was included in this as well, that hot honey and swishy formats. Well, hot honey is kind of chili infused, often with vinegar. It creates some very distinctive flavors. It's great for dessert finishes, cookie bars, savory leaning bakery, pizza, flatbreads, anything bakery adjacent. This kind of hot honey behaves like a regular liquid honey in doughs and batters, but much of its aromatic heat is best preserved by using it as a finishing element rather than baking it in.
Well, we have to watch out because kimchi is certainly heating up the condiment aisle. There's an innovation happening in the kimchi world, different than our traditional kimchi, and that is dehydrated kimchi. We're seeing it show up in dressings, drizzles, rubs, and marinade. In the center of the page, there is a picture of Mama O's, and it's a homemade kimchi kit. It was a hit at the Fancy Food Show in San Diego in January, and it's because consumers, again, know more about food than ever before. So they really are interested in doing it in their own homes. So the big question around my mind in kimchi is, will it kimchi? And yes, that is a picture of kimchi brownies on the bottom right, because kimchi does belong in brownies. I have a jar there of activated air-dried kimchi almonds. Fabulous. They've been coated with a pureed of kimchi. I also had a kimchi cocktail recently at the Crawl Space in Seattle, and they made a Bloody Mary, very Canadiana of them, with kimchi in it. So cabbage, as the base of much kimchi, is a texture trend that we are watching. We will see it and we will taste it emerge everywhere through 2026 and into 2027 because cabbage can be whatever you want it to be.
So we know that fermented food is being actively promoted in Canada for gut health benefits. And consumer awareness of kimchi has really grown because of the probiotic stories, and fermentation is making it in so many different foods. So it certainly fits within your baked goods. When we think of the East meets West Coast fame, you've got Korean fermentation, you've got all the ingredients, particularly on our East and West Coast, and comfort baking sits naturally beside the fusion of kimchi, whether it's in grilled cheese or mac and cheese or any of your popular baked goods. It certainly has a role and is showing up in the Canadian bakery story.
I love this trend because it helps everyone. Often, when clients call me to do a category and competitive analysis, I'm not only looking at their category and other products on their shelves, I'm also looking at packaging because colors and photos and culinary adjectives really are the pop of packaging. On the left-hand side at the top, there's a picture of something called Nice Cans. And Nice Cans is a new innovation of a product line from Chef Charlotte Langley in Prince Edward Island. She's the Canadian chef ambassador to the Marine Stewardship Council. Nice Cans is a bold take on tinned fish. But what I love about this is the colors, and it really pops off the shelf. There's also a picture there of Bianco di Napoli crushed tomatoes. Just looking at that can says garden fresh, and you would want to pick it up and make it into a pasta sauce. I've for many years swooned over the packaging and the taste of olive oils and vinegars. I have a picture there of their California blood orange olive oil. It's quite spectacular, and they pay particular attention to those packaging details. You could also try their yuzu rice vinegar and their honey white balsamic to pull in a couple of trends we've also talked about. There's a jar of maple syrup there, and just by knowing that that jar is unique and different than others on the shelf, it says Canadian to you. Now on the right, there's a fabulous package, and this literally jumped off the shelf into my hands when I was at a store called Big Night in New York City. It's called Glitter, crunchy roasted glitter. This one has pistachios, seeds, and spices, and I put it on everything from avocado toast to any salad. I roasted some asparagus the other night and sprinkled that over the top. It was spectacular. They have a couple of other SKUs. They have a little spicy with peanuts and sesame and chili, and a little sweet with cashews, sumac, maple, and coconut. It's fun to have that kind of attention to font and color and delivery in flavor.
So we're also seeing right across the country custom bakery packaging, vibrant patterns, much like the slide presentation, and we're seeing interactive humorous elements are being highlighted as a way to stand out. Then, of course, we're hitting on eco and functional expectations with recyclable, delivery ready, and windows on bakery packaging. So really, it's a bit of a dopamine hit. Visuals are spreading into bakery and chocolate, and they are replacing some of the traditional muted luxury tones. High contrast in color and the topography. Shoppers are accepting this and looking for bolder, particularly more premium segments.
Well, Jell-O is back because Jell-O jiggles and so much more. From Jell-O shots to flights and Jell-O cubes and savory Jell-O and Jell-O cocktails. Yep, it's Jell-O's turn again. On the bottom left is a very innovative item, and these are strawberry daiquiri Jell-O cubes. Yes, you heard me right. They came from a bar in Brooklyn, New York called Poquitu, and they are strawberry daiquiri with a suspended grape inside. The company that makes them is called Solid Wiggles. I love that name too, and it's in Brooklyn, and it supplies a lot of different flavored mocktail and cocktail Jell-O cubes for different restaurants and bars. I had a flight of cocktail jellies, and the lemon drop vodka prosecco was utterly memorable forever. And then, savory jello is returning. And is that not an aspic? And wouldn't that excite Julia Child to know we're talking about aspics and savory jellos? Australian chef Chris Yule takes his inspiration from old cookbooks and old TV chefs and old restaurants and menus. The bottom two photos on the right are his. I love his selection of colors and shapes in the pastel tray. But the one on the right is particularly a favorite, and it's suspended green beans inside an aspic of jello on an asparagus mousse base. So innovative and so creative.
So we know that there are signature jelly cakes. We know that there are mini jellies. We know that there are updated jello formulations. There's a food technologist in Florida that has created a sincere competitor to traditional jello, which has been declining. I had trouble finding it in the grocery store one day. I had to Google where I would find it, but certainly in retro dessert slabs, jelly salad bars, church basement jelly squares, they're all coming back, and we're going to hit on nostalgia as we go through this presentation.
Thanks, Tricia. Well, this one is all about the waves. The business of seaweed and sea vegetables are the future of food, and we're seeing this in more places than ever. Seaweed is sustainable, it's umami rich, and it's versatile. Again, it's equally as innovative and great tasting in sweet as it is in savory, and does not only come in a sushi restaurant. So there's a bottle there of Sheringham. It's a Vancouver Island seaside gin. It is local, it is sustainable, and it's harvested with winged kelp. It has won numerous awards for best of around the world. In the center, there's some butter that I picked up at a gourmet store in Paris, and it is sea butter made with algae. Incredibly, incredibly innovative, not overly salty, not overly powerful, but something that you want to melt on a roast potato or you want to put it on roast butternut squash. Simply spectacular. Now, Smithereens in New York City takes it to a whole new level. They sell a dessert that is layers of candied seaweed with black licorice ice cream and a citron jam. It is a wow of flavor. Seaweed can make any dish more complex, whether it's going into the sweet side or the savory side. Seaweed can do a lot of things, as in fertilizer and fertilize and put it into animal feed. Seaweed can be used when it's dried to make packaging. It's very popular in perfumes and in soap. So again, another challenge that I have for you. How can you be part of the future of seaweed and sea vegetables? It comes with education, teaching your target customer all about it. It comes with taste, getting over that I'm eating seaweed flavor, but it also comes with innovation. That can be a point of differentiation in a lot of your products as compared to other things on the shelves.
So as a health professional, seaweed is rich in fiber, minerals, bioactives, and it is being positioned globally as a sustainable do more ingredient that fits health narratives. Trials have shown seaweed blends can cut sodium in bread by nearly 30% without compromising taste or moisture. Companies like Sea and Flour already run seaweed-enriched bread, rolls, and pizza crusts at a commercial scale. And Canada is investing in kelp farming and seaweed innovation, signaling long-term commitment to a domestic seaweed industry that can supply food processors with innovative ingredients. So much so that there is a Pacific Seaweed Conference coming May 6th and 8th out in BC. I believe it's in Campbellville that you said that it was going to be happening, correct, Christine?
Campbell River, yes.
There you go.
Food rescue is all about what's possible. And notice I said rescue, not waste. This is good for farmers and for innovation. And rescue is bigger than perfection. It's an understanding of misfit produce. So a stat that always shocks any audience that we speak to, if you added up all of the produce grown coast to coast in Canadian farm fields, 58% of what we grow coast to coast goes to landfill. That's after it's become animal feed. That's after it's been made into fertilizer. That's after it's been given away at farmers markets or to food banks. Canada is the number one, unfortunately, leader of food waste from farmers' fields that goes to landfill. But I take it as an opportunity, and I take it as an innovation challenge. What we can do with a rescued product is simply a point of differentiation on grocery shelves and new menu items. On the bottom left, there's a picture there of Lundberg rice. Many of us probably purchase Lundberg rice. So this package is from rice that has been taken from around rescued duck nests in their rice fields. They save the duck nests and they harvest the rice instead of just plowing it all under. They also have an upcycled line with a blend that has barely broken rice kernels, because why not? It's okay. It's going to taste the same. The second picture is confetti. It's mushroom chips. So they highlight the fact that ugly, in quotes, vegetables still taste great. It doesn't have to be a perfect looking mushroom in this case. Blue Stripes is a superfood gummy, and it is upcycled from the whole cacao pod, shell, fruits, and beans. It has one ingredient in it. Then there's Barnana, which I think is a very clever name too. It's made from 100% upcycled bananas and plantains. A little bit of Himalayan sea salt on the top, just for difference. But now there's another product out that makes me smile. It makes Tricia smile too. It's the Hillside Lane Farm. Hillside Lane Farms makes a chocolate brownie pie crust because they also make brownies, but they take the leftover brownies that aren't quite perfect, maybe the trim on the edges, maybe and just take that and they grind it up with aquafaba. Now aquafaba is the rescued water liquid in a can of chickpeas. And when you whip that up, by the way, you get a meringue that's incredible. I'm sure all of you on this call probably know that. But this particular pie crust, being gluten-free and allergen-free, is a spectacular example of a food rescue innovation because there is no limit to this category.
So what I like to say is that there is messaging and value from farmers and processors. This is our Farmer Miller Baker opportunity, treating rescue as value, not discounting, framing products around our circular economy and the kinds of things that we can do in Canada. I know we have seasonality that may drive a lot of this waste, but I think there's a huge opportunity to do kind of the same as that brownie pie crust. What an innovation, and had me in the kitchen more doing baked goods with something so easy as the background. But anyway, aligning as well with food security initiatives and narratives, which we're going to have at Bakery Showcase. And I think there's a big opportunity for the baking industry to be part of food rescue.
Well, this trend highlights chefs directly thinking about products that they're selling to consumers. It's selling chef flavors to home cooks. So cooking like a chef. I have examples of 3 cookie packages. So Chef Aaron London, spectacular chef. He had a Michelin star restaurant in San Francisco called Al's Place. He decided to close Al's Place down. And now he started Al's Real Goods. He was at home with his kids and he could not find cookies that he wanted to give his kids. He thought were healthy enough to give his kids. And so he's created his own line. You know, when you think about it, it's our increase of home cooking and specialty ingredients. So how are chefs helping us push this along? Well, there's Aho Foods. Dill pickle mayo is Chef Molly Baz's #1 flavor. And then on the right, top right, there's a picture there, and it is all about bone broth. Many, many years ago, a restaurant opened in New York City called Terroir with Chef Marco Canora. I hope some of you have visited this. It is spectacular. And after a few years of opening, and he's on a corner on the Lower East Side, he opened up a window to the street while he was doing prep. And he'd be making brodo, bone broths in Italian. And people would stop and he would sell them cups of brodo through the window. And it's still there, and the window is still there. Now, Marco has gone on and just recently is doing a partnership collaboration with Chef Giada De Laurentiis. And so people can order the Italian bone broth latte box. It comes with chicken broth or chicken brodo, some olive oil from Giada's olive oil farm in Italy, and you froth it up, and it's foamy and decadent and fantastic. Then thinking of slightly different way that chefs share their expertise to home cooks is a line called Gestura, and it's a line of utensils or cooking implements. And there's a California cook, his name's Gabe, and he had started in State Bird Provisions in San Francisco. And then he went on to work at Rustic Canyon in Santa Monica. He collects antique spoons and kitchen tools, and he always dreamed of making a spoon. And so he contacted a very traditional utensil maker in Japan, and he has created a spoon and kitchen tongs that are worthy of any restaurant in the world. And I have used them. I have them now in my kitchen, but they are for home cooks and they just make the jobs easier. So this is how chefs are sharing their tips and tricks with consumers.
So I think it should be Hello Bakers. And I want to know where the bakers are. Why don't we have, like there is chef branded frozen bake items. We need more baker ones around this. And what about a baker flavor kit? Small chef packs, baker packs, sugar spice blends, yuzu, all those wonderful things we're talking about. And even sort of baker sign mixes and bases. And we point out a dear friend and how Christine and I met was Donna Dewar of Mildred's Temple Kitchen. And when COVID closed her restaurant, people came for breakfast. It's the biggest thing. I attended and volunteered at when we won one of the prizes for being the largest breakfast in the world. And so her pancakes, she has a pancake mix. She sold $40,000 of pancake mix in one shot to a company that was doing gift baskets during COVID, and it kept the lights on. So there's wonderful ways that bakers can get involved. But I think that you have wonderful baking authority. I think there's all sorts of products that are unique to your category. There's regional storytelling. Every pack carries a story about a baker. So I think there's some really exciting opportunities for bakers to get into this business and have their names out there, much the same way as some of the restaurateurs and chefs have done.
Well, if it's frozen, it's dinner tonight. We know that 60% of adults in the US eat one frozen meal each week. This category in 2025 was $90 billion, projected in 2030, just in the US alone, projected to be $132 billion. In Canada, this category in 2025 was 8.8 million and growing. Frozen meals in the UK are 46% of the ready-to-eat category. That is huge. So what does frozen food innovation taste like to you? Well, I have a package there from Kanzen Meal. It is from the company Nissan Foods, which started so long ago, Cup of Noodles. And Kanzen in Japanese means complete. So their frozen meals are high in fiber, so great for gut health, 0 grams of sugar, and between 21 and 24 grams of protein. They had help from many Michelin-starred chefs. And at the Fancy Food Show last summer in New York City, this won the award for the best innovation. There's also Itsu dumplings. They won a Great Taste Award from the Guild of Fine Food in the UK. Chicken soup dumplings. This is a great example of it. Also at Trader Joe's in the US, they sell a great chicken soup dumpling based on the success of the Itsu product. Now there's Strong Roots. This comes from Ireland, and they won a World Food Innovation Award in 2025. Where they start their innovation is a connection to farmers. So think back to the rescue that we just talked about. This company thinks about the farmers that have excess crops and how they can use them. So they developed this pumpkin spinach and puffed quinoa coated burger patty. I've had it. It is amazing. Actually, you don't even want a bun when you have this. It's just spectacular the way it is.
So what's important to point out to the baking industry is that frozen desserts are currently the largest revenue segment and frozen bakery products are seeing steady growth supported by innovation, specialty diets, and expanded freezer space at retail. Convenience and time saving is part of frozen, and people are looking for premium, artisanal, and gluten-free and organic, and so and so and so and so. And yet today I did do a post on LinkedIn that Gen Z, millennial, they're eating more sugar than they've ever eaten in their life, and they're snacking more than they ever have in their life. But yes, they are challenging what's in it and kind of doing like the Kanzen with zero salt and all those wonderful things. But I think for the baking industry and frozen, dinner anchored bakery items, dessert forward bakery, and I really like the part bake and take and bake because that's kind of what I call a secret simplifier, and it looks like I did a little bit more than I really did when I bake at home, something that someone else has so cleverly made for me.
Well, seeds with flavor mean food with flavor. So this can be certainly for restaurants who have their own gardens, but this is also for home. There's a lot of chef involvement in creating and bringing back some heritage seed brands. Chef Dan Barber, who runs Blue Hill at Stone Barns in Poncantico Hills, has brought out a number of years ago Row 7 seeds. It started with the habanero pepper. It was floral and sweet, and he crossed two seeds together so you didn't get too much heat or burn. You can still buy his seeds. I've recently placed my order for my garden because I like to plant his seeds, but he's recently come out with the produce, not just the seeds, and his Row 7 produce that is now sold at Whole Foods and Sprouts and Misfit markets. And I love the fact that he started with a product, a seed. He served it in his restaurant as almost a test market and saw consumers' acceptance and wanted to share seeds with flavor. So at Mustard's Grill in Napa Valley, since 1983, Chef Cindy Pulchin has been doing just the same thing and really thinking about the seeds she grows and the food she serves. Thinking from Chez Panisse started in 1971 in Berkeley, California with Chef Alice Waters, who's recently just opened up a new restaurant beside Chez Panisse called Bar Panisse. I think that's so innovative after all those years. Single Thread is a farm in the Sonoma Valley with Chef Kyle Connaughton, and he opened it in 2016. These chefs are inspirational, and we really have to turn to them and see what they're thinking about for the next generation of flavors and the next generation of food items.
So I like to think of Baker Garden collaboratives, garden branded products, like you could create seasonal bakery lines tied to these specific seeds, heritage beet chocolate cake and Atlantic pepper cheddar biscuits, using in-store signage and even having seed packets at your bakery that you could be selling so people like Christine can put them in her garden and feel that she's ahead of the season as she's planning what she wants to have in her fall harvest, I guess, as we go through the summer season.
Well, the spice of the year this year is Burberry. It's an Ethiopian spice blend. It has some fiery heat and it's red in color, but it's very complex, spicy, sweet, smoky, citrus, and incredibly aromatic. We know that it sometimes has a little bit of garlic and onion, and it rounds it right out. It's versatile. It can be in stews, in rubs, in marinades, in veggies, in meats, and in seaweed, because we know we like seaweed now. If you take a little bit of butter and mix it with this and spread it under the skin of a roast chicken, it's incredible. I also spread it on the base of a pizza crust, and it really made one of the best pizzas I've ever made. So being aware of this kind of flavor is so important. I think it's a spicy and it's an aromatic flavor. But now to the innovators on this call, how could you match the spice of the year with a refreshing dessert?
So rename the lane is how I think of this particular ingredient. I think wonderful descriptors, especially around baked Ethiopian inspired warm spice. People like spice. Look at pumpkin spice with Starbucks and all the things they do there. But I think anchoring it to comfort foods, berbere and honey and maple glazes and nuts and seeds, creating limited time runs, the spice of the year on sticky buns, brownies, snack cakes, flatbreads. I think there's just unlimited things that we could do with this and stand out because we know there's not a lot of competition out there necessarily doing this in the bakery rate at this time.
Well, the dish of the year this year is all around wild fermented sodas. So that ties to our fermentation trend that we've talked a bit about today. It's made with a ginger bug starter, ginger and sugar and water. And realistically, it is a wow of flavor and it is something new for people. So again, it comes with education. There can be probiotic drinks, like the ginger bug can there. We can have fermented root beer and turmeric soda, certainly strawberry rhubarb soda for sure. The Lollipop Shirley Temple is a new kind of soda, but it's very approachable. And a lot of people are picking up on this trend. So I see us going into 2027, and this category and this aisle in grocery retail will only be expanding.
And so where does fermented fit? Well, make sourdough the gateway to fermentation, bringing fermentation ingredients into sweet pastries, gut health stories around some of your leading bakery SKUs, going beyond bread. And I know that people are crazy with sourdough and all the websites and all the Instagram posts that I see every day. But I think fermentation really supports storytelling, old methods, and the dish of the year. I think it lends to those kinds of ideas as you go through and think about what you can do on your menus and special ingredients that you add to your bakery on a daily, weekly basis.
I'm glad Trisha said something about old methods because the cuisine of the year this year is huge and it's come around again. It's comfort and nostalgia, which means something different to everyone. So again, know your target consumer. Think about what geographic region you are in and what that means to your innovations. Comfort food can feel good, brings up all kinds of food memories. Culinary travel really speaks to the innovation and the inspiration for a lot of comfort food and nostalgia innovations. We're bringing back nostalgia memories after we travel, thinking of going on a taste voyage. It's a feel-good feeling. The upcoming prediction at the Summer Fancy Food Show that is not that far away in New York City this summer is that it will be all around comfort and nostalgia. So stay tuned because we will report on that as well.
So the nostalgia economy, just so you know, was worth about 18 billion in 2024, and it's going to surpass 30 billion by 2033, which sort of, what does this mean? Anyway, generally 85% of consumers say flavors that are familiar or comforting most influence their food and beverage choices, according to Innova Market Research. There is a retro resurgence, always seems to be one every year, but the Munchies potato chips and Lunchables, even if they're not so healthy, and clearly Canadian is coming back, if you could believe it. That was a 2017 brand. And even Bimbo Canada, their Vachon, the dark brown with all the whipped cream that we all ate as young kids. I'm aging myself. All of those are happening. And then we've got retro retailing and spreeing, as my husband likes to call it when I go shopping. Nostalgia is a proven playbook for the Pattison Group, Buy Low Foods, Choices Market, Quality Foods. All of them are kind of bringing that kind of thing back in order to have people feel a comfort nostalgia with this blend of all these new things that we're doing to the foods that we eat. So it's definitely here to stay and it's growing.
Cheers to the cocktail of the year. Garibaldi. It's a Campari and orange juice blend that's colorful and fluffy. Consumers visit bartenders like they follow chefs. So paying attention to what cocktails are popular can lead to other innovations. So where would you travel to sip this cocktail? Well, Dante in Greenwich Village has been there since 1915 serving this cocktail. They have another outpost in the West Village and they've opened in Beverly Hills. Things to watch for in cocktails as well: eucalyptus in cocktails and pepper berries showing up in cocktails.
So Canadian bakeries can absolutely translate this ingredient into cakes, glazes, snackables, and bring that fluffy orange bitter profile into the bakery case with or without alcohol. But anyway, you can certainly add it into cakes, and you can certainly add it into creams and glazes and fillings, and you can certainly add some drinks, I guess, to your bakery showcase that include this cocktail. And I think there's just something about the bright orange. It's sort of like an Aperol spritz. You know, what are they drinking? I want what they've got. Is certainly what you hear, especially when you're traveling through Europe and on a hot summer day. And these are the kind of beverages that you look to, but the flavor transfers very well into baked goods.
I thought I'd take you through a look behind the crystal ball and see how I create my Trend Watch report and see where I look for inspiration. So when I think of the Trend Watch report, and if you could see my office walls, it's filled with sheets of ideas and flavors and things I've found along the way. So where do I look for trends? Well, certainly conferences and conventions. You'll find me giving keynotes, moderating panels, and talking about taste, taste, taste all the time. Those kind of people that attend the shows speak my language. I also read Wednesday newspaper sections online from around the world. Wednesdays are generally food sections. I want to see what's happening in other countries and in other regions. I spend a lot of time in gourmet and grocery stores. I like to look at what's on the shelf and what's not on the shelf. I do a lot of category and competitive analysis at flavors and packaging, fonts and colors and culinary adjectives, and yes, tasting all the time. Whenever I'm traveling, I visit global food markets to learn about their communities, to learn about what they're wanting to eat and what is traditional and what is new in their areas. I cook and talk and taste with chefs, and yes, now you've got it. Now I'm passionate about food. When I think of making my Trend Watch reports, I break them down into emerging, developing, and existing categories. So emerging is really where a lot of the innovation is taking place in its early ideas. Developing is trend adoption. It's when it becomes cool and trendy. We might see something as a special on a menu item because it's testing it out. We might see something in gourmet retail stores rather than grocery retail. When it's existing, well, it can be found just about anywhere. I like to give the example of balsamic vinegar. You know, years ago, it would have been on the emerging column, and it was harder to find, and we took it as gifts, and it was very special. You can find balsamic vinegar anywhere now. Still, we go to special stores to find the best of. I also break my Trend Watch report down into different categories. So specialty ingredients is always my first category. I'm not going to talk about each one of these, but I'm going to highlight some of them. In the emerging category of specialty ingredients, black currant. This is the summer of black currant. So start thinking about where you can put that in your ideas. And then there's Toum, Toum. It's a creamy Lebanese garlic sauce. It's made with garlic and olive oil and lemon juice. It's very foamy. Also in the emerging category, there's 3D printed milk. Yes, you read that correctly. Milkademia has oat milk slices right now, and some people might think it was an April Fool's joke, but they're testing it at many consumer and industry shows right now. It takes the shipping weight down by 85% and 94% less packaging. At the bottom of the emerging category, there's Butternay's, and certainly this has been a hit and hard to keep in stock. It's Tillamook unsalted butter with QP mayonnaise. It is the gold standard to spread on grilled cheese, just by the way. Then we can move over into the developing column. Well, everybody's heard about Swicey. A couple years ago, it was in my emerging column. Swicey is sweet and spicy. It's everywhere now because it's just showing up as a Dairy Queen menu specials. But from the drink to desserts to burgers and fries, it's all Swicey right now. Then there's Swangy coming along. It's sweet, spicy, and tangy. And there's Swavery. Yes, that's sweet and savory together. I also have Philly cheesesteak on there, and the Philly cheesesteak bagel spread, cream cheese, mayo, mustard. It really needs an everything bagel, and then it's absolutely perfect. On the existing column, the mustard shelf is getting pretty full, but that's where there's a lot of innovation and new flavors. So go and see what's on your mustard shelf in your gourmet or grocery store. And next up is cuisines and dishes. So again, I divided into the emerging, developing, and existing column. So in the emerging column, we'll see the doing it right. And that is an example of a store or a restaurant that really just specializes in one thing. So in Coconut Grove, Florida, there's a restaurant called Cotoletta. And the only thing on the menu is a Milanese veal chop. And they're lined up down the block every night. They also own another restaurant around the corner, and it's called 3190 Si Papa. And the only thing they make is lasagna, but just specialized. It's incredible. Thinking about back to a very long time ago, maybe 20 or 25 years ago in New York, a restaurant, a food store opened up called Rice to Riches. It's just rice puddings. Looks like a Baskin Robbins because there's a million flavors, and the handle to the store is in the shape of a rice kernel. It's wonderful. And the hummus place, which, yes, just makes hummus. In the emerging column, there's stuffed naan. And naan is really coming out this year as a trend with stuff with cheeses and spinach and herbs and potatoes. My tip would be to drizzle hot honey on the top. Then there's glickles. Yes, you're reading that right. It's edible glitter in pickle brine. Put them on your next charcuterie board and everybody will be asking you about it. Moving into the developing column, savory croissants. Absolutely a hit. Eggs Benny with leeks and heirloom tomatoes. Jalapeno popper croissant with spicy cream cheese. Huge. Absolutely huge right now. So we're going to smaller portions this year, and the big shift well into 2027, we predict into 2028 as well, are smaller portions. So how can you innovate around that? Then there's savory sweets. Think about the black garlic burnt Basque cheesecake that I had. It was spectacular. Have you all made the black sesame and tahini Rice Krispie squares? The aroma and the texture, and oh, it's absolutely heavenly. In the existing column of cuisines and dishes, Sunday night meatloaf. It's about stories. It's about comfort food. It's about memories. And just because food is family, and that is an existing trend that we will always watch and innovate around. Up next is cooking methods and equipment. So in the emerging column, Thermomix machines are not just for chefs. They absolutely are for home cooks. It's incredible. But here's a tip. A lot of consumers are purchasing Thermomixes. So what kind of new recipes can they use in the bakery category to bake in their Thermomixes? Incredible. In the developing column, food halls. They've been around for a while, but there is a resurgence. Certainly, I live in Vancouver, and there we are getting ready for the first time out market on the West Coast. There's one in Montreal, and it's going to be opening here hopefully soon. Right now, there's 35 chefs who have signed up to have small kiosks of their restaurant in there. Fantastic. If you're traveling to London, England, visit the Tower Bridge Collection, where it is all kinds of chef outposts. It's spectacular. In the existing column, cookbooks, they have a heart beside it because it's my love, and cookbooks belong around forever. There's a lot of cookbook clubs. People are cooking meals based on cookbook clubs. It's history, it's stories, it's sharing, and it's inspiration. I have culinary travels on there as well. Certainly, people want to know where you've traveled. They want to know what you've eaten. I do a lot of taste voyages. You can find them on my website too. And people always call and say, what did you eat? Or I'm going to this city and where would you recommend I go? So people love to share stories about their travels.
And Christine gives me tips everywhere I go, and everyone thinks I'm so brilliant in picking restaurants, but I have my little support system there.
So this is a small quiz for you. We talked a lot about today about inspiration and where we gather inspiration and how comfort food and memories mean a lot in the world of inspiration. So I have two photos here, and they're of two very important people in the past in our industry. And the hands on the left are Robert Mondavi, who was very inspirational and innovative in the world of wine. And the hands on the right are Julia Child, because what would we do without Julia Child to have led the way for us?
So if you wanted to translate these trends for your Canadian bakery, I think you have to choose your hero format. Pick a core lane, fits your skills and market, and select your lasagna and go with it. Offer familiarity plus adventure. And Christine does tours over to Paris, walking and eating at restaurants and working with artists and all sorts of wonderful things. And those are great ways to expand the mind. Use scarcity and rotation instead of a huge menu. And today I did a post around the value of bringing in these specials and what you can learn from them and the challenges. Build a simple, strong story. And of course, story was coming out a lot today. And whether we called it nostalgia or back to Julia Child and Mondavi, we all know who they are and there's some impact, although it's always fun to ask a Gen Z versus a baby boomer what their impression of these things are. Designed for social and travel discovery. It's very important to all of us, that sense of escape, but having things that we're familiar and comfortable with. And I'd like to thank you, Christine, for what you've shared. I know we've got a couple of questions.
I have one more page too that we'll
Oh,
just
okay.
wrap up and then
Sure. Yes.
I thought, and then we'll do the questions. I want to just summarize by reminding you that food has the power to change our lives, to change the planet, and it has a lot to do with conversations and collaborations. We can make change together. So here's a to-do list for you. Number 1 is be inspired. Number 2 is create great food. Number 3, of course, gather around the table to eat and taste, taste, taste. Please reach out. I love to talk about food. You've probably picked that up. And certainly, as Tricia said, if you're traveling anywhere, absolutely you're happy to have my brain picked. I did do a walking tour in Julia Child's footsteps last fall with a group of people through Paris. And so Tricia said, yes, I am doing it again. It's important. We are all planning foods and innovating foods for the next generation. And we are always thinking to the future. So cook what's new, cook what's best, and inspire what's next. And absolutely, we are happy to take any questions that people have today.
So I do have one correction on the size of the frozen food category. And so for 2026, it's coming in at 9 to 10 billion in Canada. Just a correction on that slide where it was millions, but it's billions in Canada. And then we can break it down to baked goods, et cetera. So one of the questions I have here, though, is of the 10 trends you've shared, which two are kind of a most must do versus a nice to do?
I would say that the first choice on that question would be yuzu, because when you're deciding on a trend, you want to fit it into your product development pipeline so that you are at or just as it's changed from emerging to developing. You don't want to necessarily launch something with something that's already an existing flavor. And yuzu is just starting to come into acceptance and consumers are accepting it. So I would say that would be my number 1. My number 2 is this comfort and nostalgia is not going away. This is being craved by so many consumers. So really innovating to think about how can you bring back memories? How can you maybe have a 2.0 version of something? Maybe it's a red velvet cake and it's completely your new take on it. But consumers are really accepting of that right now.
Another question here is from our Resource Stretch founders. How do you suggest prioritizing trend-driven innovation versus supporting the core business that pays the bills?
Great question. I think that there has been a proven track record to a lot of projects and companies and customers I've worked with that when they start thinking of the future of new development or product development pipeline, they think about a category and competitive analysis for their category. I do these so that I give the information to people and be able to have them have all that information about who is the gold standard? What does packaging look like? Where is an opening? How can you pick your lane? But if you have the category and competitive analysis, you are armed with success.
This is a hands-on one too, right? It's not
Very,
just,
very hands.
it's
Trisha's
just
known
not,
me a long time.
it's not a Google search.
It's not a Google search. It is me out there searching. And when I would present it to you, we would be doing it so that it would be in person and we would be tasting a lot of things. Trisha knows me for that as well.
I've been in many kitchens. So many of the trends we've touched on are premiumization and then value at the same time. And right now, a lot of trouble or challenges we have is communicating worth it pricing in a cost of living crunch. Any suggestions for our listeners around this one?
I would say it is a communication between you and your manufacturing, whether you own your manufacturing facility, whether you're co-packing, to have conversations about how it can still continue to move forward to everyone's benefit.
So we're right almost at the hour, and if there are no more questions, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Martin may have some, we are recording. We'll send this out to you. It takes about a day because we have to put our fancy logos on our recordings. And if anyone wants to reach out to Christine, she's there, and you can contact me at tryan at baking.ca as well. And hopefully I'm going to see all of you at Bakery Showcase in less than a week or a week. And exciting times. Christine, this is always fun. And I love that you update this throughout the year and you keep going to another show or visit another country or restaurant. So always things to learn and things I want to taste and try. Martin,
Thank you so
anything you'd like
much.
to say to close?
No, thank you very much, both of you. Christine, especially very inspirational. I won't look so sanctimoniously down my nose at the next July the 1st green Jello salad that I serve. Um, but yes, it was a great webinar. And just to remind everybody that we have some more webinars coming up. We have one on GLP-1, very important conversation right now. I think it's in June,
Yes.
and we will be having one once a month, and you can check up on baking.ca.
And I'll be emailing you. So thank you. Goodbye. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks
Thanks,
everyone
everyone.
for everything they've done. Appreciate it.